Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Wednesday, July 12th. Hope everyone's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, July 12th here today. We've got a lot to get into. I apologize for no podcast yesterday or on Monday. Schedule this week is a little bit busy, and in next week, there won't be much podcast out either. I'll get more into that on Friday. I will have a show up today. I'll try my best to get a show up tomorrow and then get up a show on Friday. I also plan on incorporating maybe a live stream or two over these next couple of days. Friday, I plan on incorporating a live stream on Friday. So I'll still get a good amount of content out the rest of this week. I've been pumping out a bunch of content on my Bubbs Talking Bronx Bombers channel. I got that coming out. I talked about Sean Casey getting hired by the Yankees for the hitting coach. We have that out. I've got my Bubbs Talk or my In the Trench with Gang Green podcast as well. I've had a lot of content on that out. I actually just finished doing a video on there too. So again, just because I'm not posting on here doesn't mean that I don't have much, content out on the other channels, both the Yankees podcast and the Jets podcast, which I actually just uploaded an 18-minute podcast talking about the Jets being officially selected for Hard Knocks this year. So definitely go check those out. Definitely go check those two podcasts out. I've had a lot of content up on those. Even though I haven't had much content up on this week, I'm still making videos and still making podcasts on those other channels. As I always say, it's a little bit, they're longer. They're about 40 minutes or so. Those are not so much quicker because, yes, it was about a half hour. But they're a little bit easier just because, they're not, don't have to get the whole camera set up. Just kind of, I just can just sit here and just record. Don't have the whole camera set up. A little bit more goes into the uploading process, too, on YouTube and the editing and making the thumbnails and stuff. So these videos, definitely, there's a lot more work that goes into these in terms of the standpoint of, camera and the after fact, uploading it takes a lot longer on YouTube and stuff. So that's the reason why those get out a lot. Those get out even when I'm not doing these because those are a little bit easier to just do quickly. 18, 20 minutes, boom, they're up. So anyway, we've got a lot to get into today. So we're going to be taking a look at the top offensive lines in football today. I'll be taking a look at the top 5. As I've mentioned, I did the top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 running backs, top 5 receivers, and tight ends. Today we'll finish out the offense, taking a look at top 5 offensive lines. Again, this is kind of my training camp preview. Over these next couple weeks, we'll be taking a look at offensive lines. Today, tomorrow, I plan on doing D-line, and then probably Friday, I guess I could probably do both linebackers and just secondaries in general. So I probably will plan on doing that on Friday. Tomorrow probably being defensive lines, do O-lines, D-lines back-to-back. Today I decided to separate it just because I want to get into the All-Star Game as well. We'll be about 25, 30 minutes. I'll try to keep it short and sweet when it comes to talking about the All-Star Game. We'll obviously get into this as well. We'll get into the All-Star Game. No Yankees tonight, no Mets, no baseball. Baseball will start back up on Friday. Tonight and tomorrow, like the two deadest nights in sports because I know you got the ESPYs on tonight, but other than that, there's nothing else on. There's no live sports, no baseball. So that's it. It's about the gist of it. Other than that, we got to wait 2 more days. You get baseball, and then you get football training camp. A week from today, the New York Jets official report. A week tomorrow will be the Jets' first official practice next Thursday. So football's around the corner. This stretch of sports where we don't have a whole lot going on in terms of it's just a whole lot of baseball and NBA free agency. The heat of that has passed. Obviously, you've still got the Damian Lillard stuff, but there's not much moving there. So news definitely has been slow, but once training camp ramps up for football, we'll have a whole lot to talk about, especially with the Jets being on Hard Knocks and the Saquon Barkley situation with the Giants. So anyway, with that being said, without further ado, let's get into it. So again, I've done my top 5 quarterbacks. I've done my top 5 running backs. I've done my top 5 receivers and tight ends. If you haven't checked those videos out, definitely go check them out. They're up on YouTube. Friday was top 5 receivers, tight ends. Thursday was top 5 running backs. Last Wednesday, a week ago today, was top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. So that's what I've done so far. Today, we finish out the offensive side of the football. We're going to be taking a look at the trenches, and that is the offensive line. So, again, not many people talk about the offensive line. Everybody always talks about, if the running back has a bad game, the only time they talk about the offensive line is if the running back has a bad game. They're like, oh, the offensive line was bad today. If the quarterback gets sacked a ton, the offensive line to the bad day. Not if the quarterback doesn't get sacked at all, nobody really mentions the offensive line gets much credit because it's not a skill position. We always talk about the skill positions, and that's what I like to do, unique things like this, get inside the trenches, talk about all aspects of the game, even the non-skill position aspect, and that is in the trenches with the offensive line, and obviously we'll get to the defensive line as well later on in the week. But we'll start at number 5 here. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs. So when you look at their offensive line as currently constructed right now, they've got Donovan Smith, they've got Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, right guard is Trey Smith, right tackle Jawan Taylor. I should mention left tackle Donovan Smith, left guard Joe Thuney. I apologize, I did not mention the positions there. So left to right, tackle Donovan Smith, left guard Joe Thuney, center Creed Humphrey, right guard Trey Smith, and rounding it out, right tackle Jawan Taylor. Chiefs defending Super Bowl champions. I thought their offensive line last year did a good job in the Super Bowl containing what was a historically good Eagles pass rush with guys like Hassan Riddick and all the pieces that they had up the middle there in Philadelphia that were causing chaos. I thought they did a good job. You had Pacheco had a good season as a rookie running back. They had a good year. Mahomes did his thing. The one issue from why I don't have the Chiefs higher on my list is they're going into this season with 2 new tackles. Jawan Taylor is new, and Donovan Smith is new. Those are my only concerns when it comes to this team. Donovan Smith is obviously, he's going to right tackle. Jawan Taylor's on, obviously, the right side. Donovan Smith's on the left side. Now, here's the issue. Donovan Smith's coming off of a season in which he had his worst year. He had 6 sacks last year in 2022 he allowed. That was his worst season in the NFL. The one positive is he's only going to be 30. It's not like this guy's 35, 36 years old at his last breath in the NFL. He's still probably got a good amount of years left, but there is a little bit of a concern there going in. That tackle switch, which isn't the first time this has happened to the Chiefs. They've had this happen to them the past couple of years. But overhauling both tackles, Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor both getting inserted in, is a little bit of a concern given those are 2 new faces. So Chiefs number 5, when you look at the numbers last year, overall they were first in the NFL. They were first in pass. They were 20th in rush offense. They were first in scoring. They were the best offense in football. Their offensive line, the only thing that concerns me is those 2 tackle spots with 2 new faces. How will they blend with the 2 guards, both Joe Thuney on the left side and Trey Smith on the right side, and a guy like Donovan Smith? Can he bounce back from his worst year of his career last season, allowing 6 sacks? So number 5, Kansas City. Again, though, Creed Humphrey is a stud. He is an absolute dominant player. Did not allow a sack last year. Young, exciting, bright future. He can only get better. This Chiefs offensive line, their ceiling's high, but there are some risks. Number 5, Kansas City. Coming in at number 4, some of you may disagree, Dallas Cowboys. And again, I understand. I get it. Number 4, Dallas. They've had so many injuries, but that's my point. When this Dallas team is healthy, they are by far one of the best offensive lines in football. You can make the argument they've got 2, 3 top guys at their position in football. I understand some of the guys are older, but there is so much talent in this line. The biggest issue with this Dallas Cowboys offensive line is the health. That's the biggest issue. They can't stay healthy. And that's what's holding me back from putting them in the number 2 spot, from even thinking about putting them even higher. I think highly of this Cowboys offensive line. They're a good O-line when they're healthy, but they haven't been healthy. So that's what's holding me back from putting them at number 3 or number 2, and that's why they're here at number 4. Last season, they were 11th in overall offense. They were 14th in pass, 9th in rushing offense, 4th in scoring. So when you look at their offense, kind of a down year. They were still pretty much top 15. 11th in overall, 14th in pass, 9th in rush, 4th in scoring. Top 15, top 12, top 10 in football, despite having a little bit of that down year. Left tackle, Tyrone Smith. Left guard, Tyler Smith. Center, Tyler Bataz. I probably botched that name either way. Right guard, Zach Martin. Right tackle, Terrence Steele. Zach Martin's their best guy, most consistent. The biggest issue is the injuries. Tyrone Smith has got to stay healthy. This is getting to a point at this point in his career. He's got to find a way to stay healthy. He's got to find a way to play a decent chunk of the season. He's got to find a way to stay out there and stay available. Because when he's out there and when he's available, Tyrone Smith's very good. Biggest issue is health. Zach Martin's one of the better ones out there. You can make the argument him and Quentin Nelson last year were the two best guards in football. That's how good they were last year. Again, they can go in number 4, Dallas Cowboys. The biggest thing with this team is health. And even when they haven't been healthy, they've not been great, but they haven't been atrocious. When this group's healthy, they're one of the better ones. Number 4, Dallas. Number 3, I got the Detroit Lions. This may catch some people by surprise because the Lions last year, I think all of the things that people talked about them were, Jamal Williams having a good season, Jared Goff having a surprising year. We talked a lot about their defense, which was all right. Really struggled early on in the year, but got better as the year went on. Got better as the season went on. You saw some of those late season matchups where they were able to hold the Packers to basically nothing in the final game of the regular season on the road on the defensive side of the football. So I think that took a lot of the storylines. But something that wasn't talked about a ton was Penei Sewell, who continued to grow last year, continued to develop at the right tackle spot. When you look at this Lions offensive line, they've got Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, right guard, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Halapolo Vanti Vaitai, right tackle Penei Sewell. The right guard, the names, I apologize. But when you look at this offensive line, when you look at the left tackle, right tackle pairing, one of the other underrated ones in the league between Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell at the 2 tackle spots. 2 underrated pairings there. You like Frank Ragnow at center, consistent guy there. Penei Sewell, though, is really turning into one of the more dominant offensive linemen in football. He really is. He took that step year 1, kind of struggled a little bit. Year 2, taking that step, taking that jump. He's only going to get better, only going to improve. This Lions team is young. They've got some young pieces. They're exciting. This offensive line was under the radar last season. Number 3, Detroit. Overall, they were 4th in offense. They were 8th in pass. Rush, they were 11th. And they were 5th in scoring offense last year. Number 5, Detroit, who I said this, and I'll do my whole standings sometime in August. Actually, I do my NFL standing predictions exactly like a week before the season. I'll do it leading up until Thursday Night Football. I'll do an NFL standing a day leading up to until Thursday Night Football, which will be Detroit, Kansas City. So we'll get a good look at the Lions week 1 against the defending Super Bowl champions. So I'll do my standings updates, but many of you surprised how high I am on the Lions this year. I believe this team can actually potentially win the NFC North. I really do. Very, very under-the-radar, good, talented football team. Well-coached. Very well-coached. Dan Campbell is a phenomenal head coach. He really is. He continues to prove it. So, again, I'll save my Lions hype for when I do the standings, but a lot to like when you come to this offensive line. All right, now 2-1. Number 2 is the Browns. Last year, again, I think when you look at the Browns' offense last year, people were probably thinking to themselves, how in the world are you putting the Browns number 2? Even that last season they kind of underperformed. They were struggling as an offense. Deshaun Watson never had any camaraderie with the receiver, all that stuff. But when you look at the Browns' offensive line as a whole, there were, even though they struggled, they were still not that biggest issue. Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson didn't play well enough. Nick Chubb still had a very big season running behind them. But when you look at this group, Jedrick Wills Jr. at left tackle. You've got Joe Bettino at left guard. You've got Ethan Pochik at center. Wyatt Taylor at right guard. Right tackle, Jack Conklin. Really good tackles, Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin. a team last year that kind of struggled when it came to the offensive line. But you expect them to get better. Again, Joel Patino playing next to Jedrick Wills on the left side is exciting. He's their best piece. He finished the league last year with one of the better seasons when you look at some of the PFF grades at the left guard position on the left side. Jack Conklin's always exciting at the right tackle spot. Guy they picked up this season. Has been on the team obviously, but I believe they picked up Jack Conklin. When was it last year? I feel like it's been recent. But either way, Jack Conkling, solid piece for them as well. Last year they were 14th in overall offense, 22nd in pass, 6th rushing, 18th scoring. Struggle year for the offense. Year 2 for Watson. Chubb still had a very good year running behind this line. Brown's number 2. Underrated 2 kind of O-line. Number 1, I think when you look at it, I don't know if I want to sit here and say there's a clear consensus, but I think it's kind of obvious. Number 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles. 3rd in offense last year, 9th in pass offense, 5th in rushing, 3rd in scoring. You can make the argument maybe for Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. Maybe you can make the argument for Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin. Maybe you can make the argument for some of these other teams, some of these other tackle spots. But the Eagles, I think we can agree, when you're looking at tackle combos, the Eagles have the best tackle combos. Left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Left guard, Landon Dickerson. Center, Jason Kelsey. Right guard, Cam Jurgens. Right tackle, Lane Johnson. I think Jordan Mailata and I think Lane Johnson are probably the best 1-2 punch at left tackle and right tackle in football. Having the edge secured is one of the biggest factors when you look at the offensive lines. And I think that's why Philadelphia has so much success. When you look at Philadelphia, their center is amazing. Jason Kelsey's phenomenal. You want to have a good center. Somebody that's smart, somebody that has football IQ, picks up the blitzes, go with the quarterback. Jason Kelsey, you've got that covered. The next 2 biggest steps are the tackle spots. Eagles got that. Not saying the guards aren't important, but if you have a tackle, especially on the blind side, that's pivotal. You got a good center that can communicate and is smart, that's huge for picking up blitzes and calling things out and recognizing defenses. The Eagles have all of that, and they've got 3 guys at the top of their position. Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson. This offensive line's tough. They play a lot of games together. Lane Johnson last year was playing through a whole different slew of injuries. These guys don't miss games. They're out there consistently. They have a lot of chemistry. Landon Dickerson's good. Kind of a mix, a little bit of youth, but mostly veteran. I mean, Jordan Mailata's still relatively young. Landon Dickerson, you got Kelsey, veteran. Lane Johnson, veteran. Cam Jurgens there on the right side next to Lane Johnson. There's not many holes in this offensive line. There really isn't. I mean, they were so good last year. I mean, it really was. The biggest thing with this O-line was the penalties. That was the biggest issue last year. But other than that, they were phenomenal. Again, like you think of the better tackles in football, you could probably say, maybe Tristan Wirfs is up there too as one of the better tackles in football. He moved to the left side, though. But like the best right tackle in football, Lane Johnson's right up there in that conversation. Jack Conklin's certainly up there. Penei Sewell's making his name for himself. And all those guys, have their own conversations, and you could certainly make the debate. But look at this offensive line. It's complete. There's not many holes. Biggest thing's penalty. And you can honestly make the argument some of those penalties could have been because of the injuries they were playing with. Sometimes, if you're hurt, you have a disadvantage. You either try and get an early start. You either try and confiscate for something and hold, grab a little too much, right? That could have been it too. A lot of these guys were playing hurt. And they were still performing well. So, number 1, Philadelphia. So, got to look back on my list because I already forget. Number 5, Kansas City. Number 4, Dallas. Number 3, Detroit. Number 2, Cleveland. Number 1, finishing out is Philly. Leave a comment down below or hit me up on Twitter at Bubbs52. What are your thoughts on my offensive line rankings? We'll get you D-line, linebackers, secondaries over the course of the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday closing out the week. All right, so the All-Star Game was last night. The National League won for the first time since 2012, 3-2. If you're a Yankee fan, you're walking away with it happy because Garrett Cole did his job. Sure, you would like to see the American League win. Sure, you would like to see Garrett Cole be on the winning side of things. But I thought it was an all right game. I thought it was a good game. I mean, I thought, especially late, Elias Diaz won the MVP catcher for the Rockies, was the first catcher for the Rockies to win the All-Star Game MVP with a 2-run shot in the top of the 8th off of Felix Bautista, who was the Orioles star closer, one of the better closers in all of baseball. So that was definitely something that was pretty special there for Diaz. One of those guys that some people saw on the roster and was like, really? This guy's on the roster? But sure enough, he wins the All-Star Game MVP. So that was pretty cool. Again, I thought, I thought as a whole, the event was cool. I mean, Adolis Garcia was just phenomenal. I mean, he was awesome. Adolis Garcia in right field, making that play in the first was crazy. Randy Rosarina then making that play as well. Cole, look, he had a perfect game going. 3 up, 3 down. Did his job. I was worried at that ball off the bat on Adolis Garcia. I thought for sure that thing was out. And I'm like, you're kidding me. I was so excited Garrett Cole starting the All-Star Game. I was all ready. I sat down. I was ready to watch the introductions. You know how it is nowadays, though. Like, they say the game's going to be on at 8 o'clock. You're sitting there 8:20, 8:25, and the first pitch not even happened. So I'm sitting there at 7:40. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for this thing. Little did I know, 40 minutes later, the game wouldn't start until 40 more minutes. But I was so happy to see Garrett Cole pitch. I was ready to go. I was fired up. Let's see Cole. That ball goes off the bat. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I waited all this time. He's going to let up a home run leadoff. Great catch by Adolis Garcia fighting the sun. And in the next play, I was like, Randy Rosarina, Freddie Freeman. I'm like, you got to be kidding. He's going to let up a home run here. Or Rosarina makes the catch. And what's cool, obviously, those two guys fought in the Derby. They're close, really close friends. They're basically brothers. Garcia and Rosarina making 2 big plays like that, and he got a ground out as well. I believe the second. I believe he got, who was it? Betts the ground out? Yeah, I guess it was Betts, right? Because Betts was batting third. So, Cunha, Freddie Freeman almost took him deep, but the defense helped him. Cole got out of it. 1-2-3 inning. That's all I wanted. That's all I asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. And, yeah, they took Cole out with a perfect game. So, just kidding. But, yeah, cool game. American League lost. National League wins. Craig Kimbrell gets a save, who's had a really good just season here late in his career. He's put together a really good year for the Phillies, and a big reason why the Phillies are where they are right now, right in the playoff spot. Obviously, Vlad Guerrero Jr. took down a Rosarina in the home run derby. So that happened. Julio Rodriguez had that crazy 4-1 round against Alonso. I mean, if you're a Met fan, a lot of Met fans were frustrated going in as to why Alonso was even in the Derby. They thought he should take time and just focus on a swing. Obviously, he's in the All-Star game, but just focus on that and just focus on getting rested and recovered, because obviously he hasn't been right since the wrist injury. He came back a lot earlier than with the wrist. Is he still hurt? It's a good chance. Either way, if you're a Mets fan, I can understand your frustration, because you were probably sitting there last night thinking to yourself, you got to be kidding me. Nobody wanted Pete Alonso to be in the home run derby. Julio Rodriguez steps up there. It's 41 home runs. Round's over before Alonso even steps up to the plate. Round's over. I think Alonso hit 21, so he cut it in half. But, I mean, oh, my gosh. You got to be, well, not, yeah. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Julio Rodriguez was just on fire. Just on fire. Adley Rutschman, too. I know he got knocked out by Luis Robert, but him switching over to the right side and hitting like 6 straight homers, that was cool. That was awesome. And I know some people say, "Oh, go back to the old theme where there's 10 outs." And look, I don't disagree. I mean, I don't really care. At the end of the day, you're watching guys hit balls that are to the moon. Whether or not it's timed or not, the time version does. It would just go against what MLB is trying to do, I feel like now, because MLB is trying to speed up the game to then slow down something. I guess it would be going against. The only thing is I do understand from a fan perspective, especially if you're watching the game. And look, I don't mind ESPN. I'm one of those people. I think a lot of people hate ESPN. I don't mind it baseball coverage, but the camera angles weren't great. Like, they would put the camera angle to the ball after it was hit, and you can't even see the ball. It's like, where the heck is this thing? So, from a production standpoint, it's kind of hard because as a fan, you don't have much time to see where the balls are going. It's not like if it's 10 outs, you could take a swing, step out of the box, get ready for the next one. And also, I think there's a little bit more strategy because, I don't know, maybe it's not, because you have 10 outs. So some of these guys, they'll ground out their first 4 at-bats or their first 4 swings. 10 outs, you can't do that. Maybe you ground out your first 2 swings, or not ground out, but, Randy Arozarena, first 4 swings, he was hitting doubles down the line, but that doesn't count in the Derby. But if you hit like 4 balls not out in your first 4 swings on 10 outs, you've got 6 swings. You got 6 swings left or you got 6 swings still to go to work with to get your home run. So I guess I can get that, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they ever switch it back. I think some people did feel it was rushed, but I thought it was good. I thought the whole All-Star weekend was good. Jerseys are all right. I will admit, I like the jerseys when they're wearing their own. I think it's cooler that way. Not a big fan of the custom ones. You want to wear the custom. I feel like the custom ones, they used to do it where the custom ones were worn for the Derby, and they wore their jerseys for the game. They switched that now. Wear jerseys for the Derby, those for the game. I like when the players wear their individual jerseys for the game. I think it's cooler. Not that the jerseys this year were that bad. I don't think they were that bad, but it wasn't that they were bad. I just think that those are better for the Derby. Save the real jerseys, the team jerseys, for the All-Star game. That's what I think. Anyway, not a bad All-Star weekend. We now wait today, tomorrow, Friday. Yankees will hit the road in Colorado, open up a 3-game set against the Rockies. Mets welcome the Dodgers to Citi Field. By the way, Juan Soto traveled with Phillies players and staff to Philadelphia from Seattle because San Diego heads to Philly for a 4-game set starting on Friday. So I thought that was interesting. Soto going to Philly? I don't know. We'll have a lot of those trade discussions, especially Ohtani, coming up here over the next couple weeks. So that'll do it for the podcast here today. I will try to get a podcast out tomorrow, Friday. I'll definitely have some content pumped out as well to close out the week. So as always, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.